Always Irish show. Always Irish show. Sometimes it's good to just yell about football. What are you doing? Don't do this to me, Harry! The Ohio State. It's Ohio State! What do you mean, the? It's a poison. I almost stroked out and died over it. I'm glad to be at the party. I'm mad we're this late. You ain't a captain of nothing but a sinking ship. That helps the defense without them even doing a damn thing. Doing a damn thing. In a call-in line. 312-988-15. You tell Johnny all you've heard and seen. Oh, Irish. Oh, Irish. Oh, Irish. Oh, Irish. Irish. Yeah, that's right. Oh, Irish. Oh, Irish. Oh, Irish. Oh, Irish. Irish. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Happy Friday. Welcome in. Welcome back. The big thaw is upon us, at least where I'm at. I don't know where you're at. We're finally starting to thaw out around here. The weather's not good, but I'll take rain over snow and minus 80 degrees. Welcome in. Welcome back, everybody. I hope you're doing well. Winding down the week in your college football thoughts. That's the time of the year for it. This is the time of the year for it. So that's where I end up being, is my mind now with no season is free to bounce all over the board. And that's how you end up with really fun, juicy topics, things to talk about. That's how you end up recording things with Goolsby that get people all worked up. It's a beautiful thing. So let's go over some of the reaction to Mike Goolsby's take that we were going to do that episode for Patreon, but it was so juicy. We were like, we need to put this out and get it in front of more people on YouTube to kind of gauge the reaction. Some of that has come in and we'll go over it. Larry says, good morning, John. My cat Allie says, happy Friday. Go Irish. As long as the cat's over at your place and not down in his studio, then fine. The cat's fine if it ain't my problem. If it ain't my problem. Mark with glasses. We need an Always Irish award show. You know what I thought of, Mark? And nobody else would do it. Nobody else would be willing to do it. I wanted to do like a Notre Dame media roast. Imagine how fun it would be if everybody kind of roasted each other, me included. Take shots at me, like call me a biology room skeleton, like a Notre Dame media personality roast where it's like all in good fun, but everybody kind of takes shots at each other and like you don't get mad. You can't do like a Michael Scott roast where he gets offended and runs off crying. But like, I've always thought that would be so much fun. And here's the thing. If you did a roast like that, I would roast myself harder than anybody else. Like that's how the game's played, but nobody would ever do it. Nobody would ever do it. So nobody else would agree to it. I know that. That's fine. But I do think that'd be fun. I've always had that in my mind. And I got a million barbs to throw at myself and everybody else. It would be fun, but it would never happen. You got to have people that don't take themselves too seriously and willing to have fun, and that's just not going to happen. So there goes that idea. So thank you for being here. I got a few things to go over. Let's get into it. Obviously, you can find the program on YouTube. Do it, subscribe. Give the video a thumbs up. That helps Yanni Boy out as well. Notifications on. That way you alerted every time a new episode drops. I know you don't want to miss it. Twitter, search bar Always Irish, rat Always Irish Inc. Emails alwaysirishnd@gmail.com. Audio only anywhere you want it. You can get it if you don't want to see my face. I don't blame you. Call in lines 312-988-15. You call Johnny Boy up. Tell him all you've heard and seen. Whether you want to talk about Harbaugh finally leaving, Goolsby Minchie situation, anything else in Notre Dame land, the recruiting, whatever you want to do. I tell you, in the off season, wherever you want to take it, we can take it on the call-in lines. Okay. That's up to you and wherever your Notre Dame mind brings you. Okay. Patreon.com/alwaysirish, former captain, leading tackler, by the way, Mike Goolsby, breaking it all down behind the paywall. Here's the other thing. Why am I getting tweets of people saying, oh, I disagree with Goolsby's take, or what, some people did agree, but other people are like, oh, I disagree. What about this? What about that? John, this and that. Bro, Mike's on Twitter. I'm not a proxy for Mike. Mike's on Twitter. He's got 2 accounts that he's on every day. Ask him. Let him tell you. Don't come to me. He's available. So if you have that big of a problem, ask him on Twitter and then let him handle it. I'm not going to speak for the man. You saw the video. So you could ask him directly what's up with his takes. That's fine. Adam Dowling. Harbaugh getting out of Dodge. Pete Carroll style. 100%. 100%. It's not a burner. He has one for his training and the stuff he's already doing. And then he got a different one when we started doing the Patreon, because he wanted to separate that. He's got one for like his training with the high school coaches and all that he already had going. And then he had one he started when we started doing the show to kind of separate it. Can you get a summary of the chat, Chief? Goolsby believes Kenny Minchie's got a higher ceiling, is going to be better than CJ Carr, and he wants to make sure he gets an opportunity before he's like lost in the fold and then ends up leaving and not, or falls between the cracks, with what we have coming in and people liking Angeli already. So that was the impetus of the video, is Goolsby saying, I really feel like he's not only better than Minchie or better than Angeli, but he says his ceiling's way higher than Carr too. Bigger body, bigger arm, capable of more, but raw. So that was kind of the video. That we did. Irish Steel, go Irish. I like the Goolsby video. I agree with your sentiment, John. I just want to do to QB. I don't care who the name is. I've always said that. I have no dog in the fight. I have no preference. I need elite quarterback play at Notre Dame. The name doesn't matter to me. I don't make any extra. I don't get no NIL money depending on who it is. Like, it makes no difference to me who. It's just that you got to nail it. It doesn't matter who. It matters that you hitch your wagon to the right guy. That's what matters. Here's what can't happen. Notre Dame's got a plethora of riches of talent at quarterback. The floor and ceiling of this group recruited under the new regime is light and day different than Kelly. It's not even a conversation. The worst case scenario is you hitch your wagon to the wrong guy and then the right guy leaves. That's the only way this folds down on itself and gets ruined. This dynamic that I like at quarterback coming down the road here is you can't go all in on the wrong guy and the right guy leaves and then is the right guy somewhere else. So that's what you just have to make sure you avoid, and you have proper evaluation and you understand the upside and the downside. Adam, I think he's talking more about overall size, right? Like, isn't Minchie a lot chunkier and beefier, even if he's not as tall as Carr? Like that kind of thing, like body type. I think that's what he was talking about. Ranking an incoming high school quarterback ahead of the water boy is premature. Hey, I just want to see more. Like, I just want to see more. Carr isn't going to be nervous. He shouldn't be. He should go in there with a bunch of confidence, man. He shouldn't be. Gilmore says, I don't think Goolsby should fall in love with high school film. One thing Carr has an advantage over Minchie is that all the eyes have been on him his entire life. Yeah, that's definitely raised his profile in the recruiting and everything else. it's definitely a thing. So I don't know. This sets up a really, that's where this all heads. It sets up a really interesting spring where I can't believe I'm saying this. I am genuinely excited to see every one of these quarterbacks. Every single one of them, I'm interested in seeing more of. And I'm intrigued about their development and all this stuff. Like, I've never been able to say that. In fact, there are a lot of years where I'm excited to see nobody in the blue and gold game. Like, I'm not kidding you. There's been years where I'm like, who's our quarterback? So for me to be thinking I'm entering spring and I'm genuinely interested in all these guys, that's a good place to be. But the tricky part becomes, how do you navigate the project? That's a good spot to be, but how do you navigate this the right way to end up with the correct, proper order? And then whatever happens with that could trigger maybe a guy leaving, maybe not, I don't know, but it wouldn't surprise me. So this spring, I think, is a big deal to see if that order remains the same or if it gets shuffled around. I just think that's really kind of an interesting thing here and an experiment that they've got to figure out and get right. And also, that's hard at quarterback. There aren't a lot of those competitive reps to go around for a handful of guys. Like, it's just a lot to ask. So how do you fairly parse that out with the reps in the spring and all the stuff you're trying to analyze? And then the other part is Mike Denbrock throws a whole new dynamic in here. Fresh eyes on the offense. He doesn't have any, built up allegiance to any Notre Dame guy just coming in. It's going to be a clean slate in a lot of ways of like, let's just see, wherever you think you fell before, now I'm here and it's starting all over because I haven't seen you guys. So you got to prove it. I like that. So I don't know that it's going to be a really interesting dynamic. And then Goolsby looks at a lot of traits and he just looks at these little things, whether it's mechanics, how a guy moves, the fluidity, like the instincts, like all of that stuff is what he looks at. And he's capable of looking at it a different way than I am. And that's why I like him as my partner, because he could provide me some of that stuff I'm not naturally built or have worked to be able to understand. You got to understand. Goolsby don't watch no TV. He watches football. And then when he has free time, he watches football. He breaks down film. He just puts on old Notre Dame games and focuses on this part of the team for the whole game and only looks at what they're doing. Like, that's what he likes to do. He pulls up the recruit film on Huddle and then watches our guys and then breaks it down. Like, that's what the guy does. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I love it that he's like, yeah, I was bored at 12:30 at night. Decided to pull up some recruit film and break it down. I love it. It's amazing. Like, it's a beautiful thing. Jay Carr says, we need Goolsby to put John through some drills. That's must see. Jay Carr, you think I haven't thought of that promo angle out in Nebraska with him running me through a bunch of linebacker drills? You don't think Johnny's thought of that? I'm always looking for an angle. Of course I've thought of that. I just got to get out there. I don't want to I don't want him to run me in the ground. I'm too old for that. Goolsby, Irish Steel. Goolsby is right. The competition will be more based on talent since everybody will be a step ahead at step one with the playbook. And that's the other thing with Denbrock. It kind of levels the playing field as far as anybody being ahead because they already know the offense and everything like that. Again, that's like a balancing factor that allows this to kind of start from scratch and see where it goes. See where it goes. So I don't know. Andy got that 30-year-old guy walking around his kicker. Why can't Johnny work on his punting? Dude, I'm telling you, man. Punting should be easy. Punting should be easy. It just should be. You have your angles, and you know when you want to sky one and leave it short, and then you could kick that way. I just don't think punting's that hard. I'm sorry. What I mean by that is, I could never be like, oh, Johnny, could be an offensive lineman. No. But I've punted before just playing around on a football field, and I could kick it more than 35 yards, which is what half of these college kickers do. The lack of consistency with punting, I don't understand. And it's just, and again, it's like, oh, wow. No touch. Too many of these guys bang it through the end zone when you want to have it on the 10. There's no touch. The angles are a calculation you could get better at. You know what I mean by the angles. We're punting it, and I want to angle it out of bounds inside the 10. There are things you could do. I just think punting should be easier than these guys make it look. I'm sorry. But I like those corner punts. I love them. There's no return, and if you do them right, you pin a team. How hard could that be? And again, I'm never a guy that's like, I could go do what the quarterback. No, I couldn't. I think I could punt and have an average higher than some of these college punters. I do. You don't even need a big. I think it's mental. I don't know. See, you should be able to punt better. You should. Now, here's one thing I don't understand is those kickers without a shoe. Footballs are hard. I don't like that. The kickers without a shoe. I have never understood that one. That just sucks. I don't know. I don't know how they do it in the old days, running around with no foot, kicking field goals and punts. Anyways, I know that I'm not being serious. It just seems like if there's anything a regular guy could learn to do on the football field, it might be long snapping, holding, and punting, I guess. I don't know. It seems like the easiest thing there could be. Yeah, Andy Reid in the punt pass kick competition when he looked like Andre the Giant with a bunch of 7-year-olds next to him. Oh, man. Jeez. Steven with the $5 holler. Thank you. John, I was going to donate to Alyssa Milano's son's trip to Cooperstown, but this is money better spent. Don't get me started. How this lady, bro, she puts out a tweet and it says, Alyssa Milano's famous. I don't know if she's working now, acting or not, whatever, but she's rich and famous and has money and lives in fancy California or whatever. She puts out a tweet saying, oh, my kid's baseball team really wants to have a trip to Cooperstown. Here's my GoFundMe. If you guys could pitch in any amount, it would really help send the team to Cooperstown to go see the Hall of Fame. Bro. So I Google Alyssa Milano net worth, and it says 10 million, north of 10 million. Everyone I looked at said north of 10 million. Pay for yourself, lady. Pay for it yourself. You are rich. You are entitled. You're a Hollywood elite. Pay for it yourself. Are you insane? The lack of awareness from this lady is astounding. I couldn't believe it. Everything I looked up, net worth 10 million plus, 10 million plus. Bro, and she's on there begging like a regular struggling soccer mom that's what bothers me. Do you know how many real families I know where everybody works all these hours and everything just to get by and they're hard workers and they don't live a fancy life and they would love their kids' little league team to get to go somewhere? that could really use that money for those kids that otherwise would never have a like, that's what I think about. And I got a lady worth 10 million plus asking poor fans to donate for her rich kid that's been born with a silver spoon in his mouth to be able to do something fancy. It all rubs me the wrong way. It all rubs me the wrong way. And here's the other part of it. The lack of self-awareness enough to know how that's going to come off. That's the other part of it. Even if you think, I'm going to do this, your next thought should be, I'm Alyssa Milano. These people all know I have money. What kind of look? Like the total disconnect and lack of awareness of the situation and how this will be perceived. It all rubbed me the wrong way. It all rubbed me the wrong way. And then here's the kicker. There's always like a kicker to this. Here's what it is. The kicker is she's one of those people who lives in an echo chamber on Twitter. And what I mean by that is she has really strong opinions about a lot of things. She doesn't like hearing the other side. So she's one of these people who blocks the replies. So only people that follow her can reply to what she's saying on Twitter. Think about the cowardice in that. All the people who follow her are like-minded like her with society stuff, with political stuff, whatever it is, very like-minded. So she's created an ecosystem now where she throws anything out there and all she's going to see is support for it because it's all her people that think like her that are going to buy into everything she says. That's the kicker. That's the kicker. You should have no respect for anyone on Twitter that has it set to where only people that subscribe to them can reply. Those are people that are weak-minded. Those are people that cannot handle disagreement. They cannot handle a logical debate or argument. People like that are weak, and they are getting weaker. And the reason they're getting weaker is they're in a vacuum. And every next thing they say, everybody agrees with them, and it pushes them further down the rabbit hole in the one-way thinking because they have blocked out all of the contrasting viewpoints. You don't want to hear them. So I would have responded to her, but I wasn't allowed to. So I quote tweeted her and just said, you're worth more than $10 million. Pay for yourself, lady. Just the total lack of self-awareness is the main thing. Like, just totally disconnected from how this looks to regular people. It rubs me the wrong way. Anyways, so I went off on that last night. 419, you're coming up. I went off on that last night. I couldn't handle it, man. It's just so, everybody hates celebrities that are just disconnected with every reality. Like, I just couldn't handle it. So that's what happened with her. Oh, let me get to a couple of chats I highlighted before I get into this any further. $20 holler from the V1. Appreciate it. John, I have an off-topic question. I've been in some heated debates online. Who was better, Book or Hartman? Book took us as far as he could go, but Hartman had no one to throw the ball to other than the tight end. I think it's Hartman. What a really good question, V1. Here's the thing. Book was a better runner. Right? Like, we all agree on that. Book was a better runner. And then you're right. But Hartman was supposed to be a great thrower. But then you had all the issues we had. And again, you're in a situation. Here's the situation I've not liked being in all year. I hated the position. I'm glad we're done talking about Hartman. That's number one. Goolsby was saying that halfway through the year. I'm glad we're done talking about him too. It's so frustrating Because the issue you always run into whenever you start one of these discussions, to me, I'm always going to arrive back at a spot where I say, this is really hard for me because the quarterback play isn't alone in a vacuum. You need all those other things to make the quarterback play look good. Against any good defense, the O-line wasn't good enough, and you had nobody to throw to. So then it's like, well, is that on Hartman, or did we expect him to overcome that? I didn't expect him to totally overcome it. I thought he would overcome it more than he did. And that part was a disappointment. So yeah, interesting dynamic there. That's a really good question. The situations are so different with the structure. God, that's a good question. Book took as far as we could go. I'm not looking at the ultimate result of the team. I'm trying to focus just on the quarterback play. Hartman had nobody to throw to. I know that's tough. And also it's tough to look at it in retrospect. Because it's like, well, this year, if I knew we were going to have no wide receivers, would you almost rather a Book out there at least running around? I don't know. It makes you think of it. That's a tough question with a lot of moving parts that I'm having trouble equalizing out. You know what I mean? Todd Troyer, when Notre Dame gets Deuce Knight, they will have a ton of QB talent. Yeah, he's going to be the most talented quarterback physically Notre Dame's had it maybe ever, just as far as raw talent. That is a guy with the body type and a skill set Notre Dame does not get. That is the kind of athlete from that part of the country that does not come to Notre Dame. So all the people that want to say, oh, Freeman's not doing a good enough job, this and that, Deuce Knight doesn't even know what Notre Dame is if it isn't for Marcus Freeman. People are very, very quick to overlook that. Marcus Freeman is the reason that you are in Deuce Knight's vision at all, is Marcus Freeman. So, that's what I say. And you know what else? The thing with Book, I see people debating this now. The other thing with Book, man, is he was limited in certain aspects, but man, everybody loved how much he gave his all for Notre Dame. That's a dude who's going to lower his shoulder and get that extra yard. He was the ultimate Notre Dame fighter, and I'll always respect that of him. That doesn't mean he was good enough. That doesn't mean he got us over the hump. It doesn't mean he could throw the deep ball. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying, there's some of Ian Book's, the fighting Irish toughness and putting the team on and doing what, it wasn't good enough to get us over the hump. It isn't ultimately good enough what I think should be the Notre Dame quarterback, but that guy gave us all for Notre Dame, and I love it. It's hard not to love it. Telling you, Deuce Knight's a different kind of dude. Notre Dame doesn't get that kind of guy. Oh, boy. This is actually kind of a fair question from Sir Lucas, so that's improvement. I'm going to skip the personal insults, and we'll just go to the good question. Would you agree Free Pass blew another opportunity at the end of the season by not playing both Minchie and Steve after the season was a wash when Clemson blew us out? I agree with you. I wanted that. Bad after the Clemson loss. Here's the issue, though. I was advocating for that after the Clemson loss. I was like, okay, all the major bowl game stuff's out. Now I got to see what we have coming because this season's a wrap. What we got to realize is the coaching staff cannot look at this the way we did. I looked at it as you lost to Clemson. Any bowl I could possibly care about is out the window. Season's dead to me at that point. Coffin, burial, we're done. The staff can't look at it that way. They absolutely had to win the rest of the games the regular season after Clemson and limp it across the finish line. And you absolutely had to win whatever bowl game you were going to be in to get to those 10 wins. You absolutely had to do it. So I was frustrated and I wanted to see those young guys and all that stuff. They look at it as we got to limp to the finish line here without any more losses. So that's number one with this debate is the staff could not look at it the way the fans do. So we automatically have to separate out my frustrations, feeling like the year's over after Clemson, wanting to see the young guys throw. Here's where the staff was at. We cannot afford any more losses. So we have got to buckle in here and find a way to ride this out and win out and whatever. Also, think about this now. Within that, Notre Dame's offense was struggling. Obviously, they looked like doggy poo-poo on the sidewalk against Clemson. You had problems with the offense. You had problems with the offensive coordinator. And the last thing they wanted to do is add an extra element of chaos. Do you follow me? You can disagree with what I'm saying all you want. You do every day. It doesn't matter to me. I'm telling you that's what it is. So when you ask questions like, why doesn't Minchie get a set of plays in the bowl game, like series in the bowl game, it was all about minimizing chaos, minimizing the moving parts. And the last thing I think they wanted to do when you already had an offense that was severely unstable and unreliable is add another layer of unknown risk and then chaos to it. I genuinely think that. And that's unfortunate, but I get why the staff was like, we just can't have any more moving parts. We had enough moving parts that weren't all lining up to be good enough already. And the staff figured we just don't need any more just loose parts. And I think that was a part of it. So you have to try and understand the difference between how I think and feel and react and how the staff does. I'm not saying I was overreacting again after Clemson by saying it's over. This isn't all good enough. Let's look to the future. But the staff was saying, we got to win out. And we cannot have any more risk, any more unknowns, any more loose ends, like any of that chaos. I would have liked to think you could find a way to play those guys more and still win the remaining games. Like it's not all one or the other. I think you could. There's no way you can tell me you can't build out some packages for Minchie the last few weeks of the season and like the whole team would fall apart. How bad could it go? Like, right? You know what I mean? How bad could it go? And then here's the other part. Once you're past Clemson, especially, you don't have to worry about saving that red shirt on Minchie, right? You can play in 4 games or less, I think, and conserve that year of eligibility. So I think that's another thing where that's out of sight, out of mind. Then it's like bonus practice time in real game situations, right? After you reach within that 4-game window because there's no eligibility risk. So that's kind of how I see that. So there was automatically a big disconnect between how I and fans were reacting when we were all mad. Hey, Jay Lehman, good to see you. Have a great weekend. There's just a big disconnect. They felt a lot of pressure. You needed to get in the clubhouse at 9-3 and win that bowl game. Too many moving parts, too many things they didn't want to risk. So that's what I think it was. However, I got to start seeing, I want to see these guys. I don't know how you arrange this in the spring to give everybody the reps they need at quarterback. I don't know how it's physically possible, but I need you to figure out a way. These guys all need reps. Denbrock's got to see what you got. Here's a key thing to think about. Where's Gino in all this? Right? Think about that when we're having this particular discussion. Where is Gino in all this? Because while Denbrock's coming off the street new, and Freeman is not an offensive expert, I wonder how much input Gino's going to have on this. Because Gino's the one who knows those quarterbacks more than anybody else now. So I wonder how that's going to play into this. And where his opinion, like when he sits down with Denbrock and they're building out spring and whatever they're going to do for spring and how they're going to line it up, I wonder what he thinks. As far as like talking to Denbrock, being like, listen, tell me if you agree, but this guy has high upside. I want to see, we want to push this guy a little bit. I don't know. But I'm just saying that's an interesting thing to me is Gino's input on all this. And I do know this. Gino likes himself some mobile running quarterbacks. Take that for whatever you want. That's Gino's preference, as a guy that can run it and pass it with ease. And so does that influence like where he leans? I don't know. But what I do know is you need to put yourself in a position this spring to have as clear as a slate as you could possibly have. And here's the wild part. I'm not even really talking about starter. That's the wild part. I'm not even really talking about who the starter is going to be, because I think I know how that's going to go. This is all about lining up that quarterback room in the right way for whatever comes next. That's what I'm looking at. Freeman wasn't getting fired regardless, and he knows that, so he dropped the ball again. Dude, do you honestly sit there and go, literally, I feel like you wake up, Sir Luke, and ask yourself, what could I type in this computer to make this guy as mad as possible? I honestly, every day, I think you wake up and your thought is, what could I type in this chat box to make the host of this program as mad as possible? Couple things. Number one, the suggestion that he didn't think he was going to get fired, so he just did whatever, is hilarious. Jay Carr, come on now. Down pat, come on now. You know I play it a little bit. I do like the trolls, only there's a balance. There's a balance in how many there are and what they say. So, yeah, I do like a good troll. It just depends on what levels we're at and how much patience I have that day. But here's the other part of it. In no scenario do you hire a young first-time developing head coach and then fire him after 2 years unless there are huge, like a scandal or 50 people on the team left because they could see it's not going well. Like, that would never happen. And you don't, if you're the administration, you don't hire Freeman with the idea that if he doesn't win in 2 years, he's out of here. This was always going to be a more long-term developmental plan built off of the overall stability, not the high-level results, but the overall relative stability of the Kelly era of like having a pretty strong footing and foundation, that kind of thing. Has John ever gotten so angry he hit the green screen? I try and not do that because I don't want to ruin my studio. You know what a pain in the ass it'd be if I do that? I've thrown some pens that stuck in the wall. You've seen me all hammer, pound. I used to have a box holding up something I used to kick. I got my outlets. Yeah, you're saying it different now. Freeman wasn't getting fired after this year, regardless of record. Why not play the young guys? I understand that, but the staff didn't see it that way. They were on do or die. They were on, we cannot lose. This was supposed to be a better year than this. We absolutely cannot lose another game. there was a different sort of pressure there. They felt like the year should have been better. They were mad about it. They had no leeway. And I just think they weren't in the mood to have to deal with anything else that's a loose end that they didn't want to throw any more chaos into the offense than there already was, when every time we played a good team, they couldn't do anything. Okay? Dr. John. Good morning, John. Going over the hill, Bozeman this morning. Listening in the car. Be happy in your work. John, you always say that, and I do appreciate it. And I will say this. Who's making excuses? I'm making excuses? You could wait. Here's another issue. All right, I had a chief. I don't know if you're referencing me or not when you're saying I'm making excuses. Here's the thing. Oh, I've always struggled with this. God, I've struggled with this forever. Doing this show, I've struggled with this. Tell me if you guys have an answer. Reasons versus excuses. You following me? When you look at like something with Notre Dame and it didn't go good enough, and then you bring up the reasons why, it's like, oh, you're making excuses. But an excuse could be a legitimate What is the difference between a practical reason and an excuse in football? Do you follow me? Oh, why wasn't the offense good enough against these good defenses or whatever? And then I give a bunch of things. It's like, well, you're making excuses. I'm giving you reasons. In regards to football, Chief? What a great answer. He says the difference here is I was talking to Adam and not you, John. Well, then I guess it's a big difference. But now that you got me going, let's just go. I've always struggled with that. When something isn't going great with Notre Dame, and then I go, well, yeah, here's what happened, and this wasn't ideal, and we, wide receiver was a struggle, the O-line was struggling out, whatever. John, you're making excuses, but there are also reasons. What is the football difference between a excuse for something happening and a reason? Is it the framing? I genuinely don't. Oh, Sir Lucas, come on now. Come on, man. The image in my head is funny. Somebody tell me that. There you go. Jacob Saylor. Excuses are under your control. Reasons are not. So does that mean that when I say it, it's reasons because I have no control of what happens? But it's tough. It's tough. I've always struggled with the reasons versus excuses. Like, it doesn't mean that they're acceptable either way. Either way. God, give me a break. John has never said one negative word about Freeman, and he ain't starting now. He's painting himself into a corner. Buddy, I painted myself into the corner midway through Freeman being Kelly's DC when I did an episode. And I just said, from everything I'm hearing about how this guy's recruiting and that the office can't even process his paperwork. He's finding so many recruits to visit that they can't even keep up with his paperwork. I did an episode when he was the DC saying the hell with Kelly. Make this guy the coach. He already outworks Kelly already. Put him in charge of the whole thing. Let him work. So that was when I did love Clark Lee too. I did. I liked Elko too. I honestly said you could run this on defense first and have Elko or Lee and figure out the other stuff. And look at it. Elko and Lee, big-time college football coaches now. I know Vanderbilt, but still head guys. So those guys did excel. But I painted myself in a corner way before Freeman got this job. I challenge anyone to do a Freeman factor type thing before I did it. So I admit I am on that boat. And if it sinks, then I'm gonna have to sink with it. And if it succeeds, everybody's going to be happy. And then no one's going to be held accountable that they shit on Freeman for years till it did good. That's the frustrating part. If Freeman does good, then everybody's going to be happy. And no one will be held accountable for all their old takes, wanting Freeman to be fired and saying he is a DEI hire and all that kind of stuff. No one's going to be held accountable for it if this all changes. So I don't know. Whatever. Oh, Homer TD, it's good to see you. Here's another question. T-Rex. If Minchie's as good as Goolsby says, I hope he stays. I hope that he is good. If he is that good, though, why bring in Leonard? Minchie and Jelly Carr equal enough talent and depth. Yes. They do equal enough talent and depth. But what does nobody in that group offer that isn't on this list? Experience. That's the issue. Talent and depth, sure. But experience going into a year where there's a lot of pressure that the results have to be higher, that was the issue. So enough talent and depth, yes, I agree with you completely. But the lack of experience, listen, Freeman don't want to be in a position where you're running a guy out there just like you were Ohio State Buckner the year before, week one, and you just have no, that really ended up biting him in the butt with the injury and all that and what that caused. So they're always trying to prevent that. Talent and depth those guys have. It's having no experience in a more of a must-win year. A must make the playoff year, or we need to say really some things are going wrong. If we want to be honest about it, Notre Dame probably should have been undefeated this year. 419, I'll be there. I'm sorry. If we're being honest, Notre Dame probably should have been undefeated this year, 12-0. Any one of 15 things go differently against Ohio State. You got a big win. You have the kind you haven't had in 30 years. All you had to do is one thing differently. You don't even have to win one more play. You just have to make one more even neutral decision that doesn't go against you, and Notre Dame wins. They had 12 to 15 opportunities with the coaches and the players to do that, and none of them did it. That's on you. Clemson and Louisville were ultra winnable games, but when you don't show up ready to play, you're going to get beat on the road. And you're going to get beat on the road against good coaches. And what happened? Notre Dame got beat on the road against two coaches I respect at those two places. None of these were, Notre Dame's lining up against a team they just can't play with. This is not the 2012 championship game against Alabama where it was kindergartners against the WWF superstars. That was not what this was. Notre Dame should have probably went undefeated. And the fact that they didn't is upsetting. And I know that sounds stupid and you can make fun of me and we have 3 losses and it is what it is. I understand all that, but I'm not being sarcastic or joking when I say, Notre Dame probably should have gone 12-0. There was no reason to lose the Ohio State game. And the other two, if Notre Dame just acts even remotely interested in participating, those outcomes could be different. So there's a lot to learn from within that. Look at this. However it plays out, playoff plus a win or bust. God, that's interesting. T-Rex. T-Rex. Here's why that's interesting. Look, how am I trying to say this? If Notre Dame was the 5 seed this year, first round of the expanded playoff, Notre Dame's the 5 seed. They go 11-1. You get the 5 seed, no bye. You'll probably host the group of 5 champion. It'll be to 12 at your place, December 20th at the Allstate Rockney built. Isn't it cold? And that's what you're looking at. The pressure to win that game against whoever that team is as the non-Power 5 entry is different. that if Notre Dame goes 10-2 and they make the playoff, but then they have to go to Iowa State for a road game at their place in the first round. Like, are you following me with what differing paths those are? Like, making the playoff is like making the playoff, but there are huge swinging differences between the kind of path you could have. That's what I'm thinking about. The 5 path is so incredibly different than if you're an 11 or a 12 or whatever. The difference between hosting a non-Power 5 team at Notre Dame Stadium the week of Christmas or going to an SEC team or something at that time, a big difference. Big difference. But I agree with you. I don't just want them to make it. You got to get in there and win a game, baby. Get in there and win a game. That's what I need. Here's another good one. I think Riley Leonard's going to thrive at ND because Denbrock's going to design an offense that feeds into his skill set. 100% absolutely accurate, and he'll know what he wants to do with them to stretch a defense, stress a defense as much as possible every possession. Keep a defense on their toes. They don't know what's coming, all of that stuff. A lot of motion, a lot of confusion. Who's coming and who's going? Is quarterback going to keep it? All that kind of stuff. Jay Carr, I agree Stephen Kenny should have played, but perceptually it would have looked bad if Hartman got benched. However, there were opportunities to get them both to play even with Hartman starting. Yeah. I was saying, why is Hartman starting? If this experiment's failed and it's over, now I have an obligation to look to the future. And I felt strongly that Notre Dame could beat Wake and Stanford with Kenny and Angeli. See, that's the pushback I get is, oh, you want the backups to play or whatever, but then if we lose a game, you're going to be mad at that too. So, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. My position was, I thought that Angeli could be the starter and beat Wake and Stanford. It didn't need to be Hartman for you to be able to beat those teams. Oh, you can't bench Hartman against his old team against Wake. Well, maybe you shouldn't have lost 3 games. That's not my problem. That's not my problem. Hartman played bad against Louisville, bad against Clemson a lot of the time. Bro, that's not on me that we have 3 losses and you may not get to start against Wake. Don't have 3 losses. You're the quarterback. So, yeah, it would have looked bad if Hartman got benched. You know what else looks bad? Him not getting benched, but we lost 3 games. That also looks bad. And again, I'm not putting it all on Hartman, but he didn't have the skill set capable of putting the whole team on his back and getting through some of those moments. That's how you end up with 3 losses. Have you guys looked at all those stats and the tweets coming out about good teams with good top 10 offenses and defenses, and Notre Dame's right in there with being a top 10, even in some metrics, a top 5 offense and a top 5 defense, depending on the exact metrics you're going to measure? And it's like only this small handful of teams are top 10 in everything, whatever, and Notre Dame's in there. I don't see anybody else on that damn list with 3 losses. I'll tell you that right now. Undefeated or 1 loss. There are no other teams on that list that have 3. Tells you something went off the rails. Something went wrong. That tells Johnny boy something went wrong here. Something went sideways. You're the only one on that list with 3 losses. Nobody else is even within 1 game of you. So I need you to clean that all up. And that leads me to my next point. The road game situation is still on my mind, and it still bothers me. I do not approve of the way Notre Dame played on the road. They were not ready, not engaged, whatever, half asleep. I don't know what to call it, but it's offensive to my football sensibilities. That you could dare walk into these vicious, hostile road environments and not feed off that energy, but get drained by it. I can't do it. Can't do it. Singletary style. I want winners. Can't do it. I'm just telling you, that road game thing really needs to be fixed. Mark, I saw that with Alyssa Milano, so I put up a GoFundMe for myself. It's to get to the blue and gold game. I figured if that's what we're doing now, then and we want something, I might as well try. Oh, Mark. You're one of my favorites, Mark. Jacob, $2 holla. I just need the 24th season to start already. You got what, 8 months? It's going to be a long winter. Then we get to spring ball, and that at least gives us some stuff to look at and talk about. And then the march of death through the rest of spring and into the dog days of summer. Oh, my God. We get into like June and July, and you're like, bro, I just need August. Give me this football. You're counting down the weeks. You're counting down the days. Adam with the $5 holler. Adam, are you going to the Lighthouse tonight for dinner? What are you doing, man? You hit the Lighthouse on Friday nights. Adam, $5 holla. From here on out, it's playoff or bust. Any season ND doesn't make the playoff is a complete failure. That is 100% correct. That is 100% correct. I cannot really see a scenario where it's acceptable for Notre Dame to miss a 12-team field when I think 10-2 will get you in 90% of the time. Now, if that ends up being not true, which I doubt, Kelly went 9-3 and they ended up being the 13th ranked. I went and looked specifically for this reason. Kelly ended up 9-3 with the highest ranked 3-loss team at 13. So he had 3 losses and was 1 spot out of that playoff spot. Now, if you want to say it was 2 away because of the Power 5 team or whatever, or the non-Power 5 team that would make it or whatever, fine. I just wanted to illustrate a 3-loss team was technically 1 spot out of playoff contention. So a 10-2 Notre Dame should be in a pretty good spot to get in. But the path for Notre Dame at 10-2 when they're in is going to be brutal. It's going to be brutal. You will have a vicious road game somewhere. That ain't easy. That ain't easy. I got to tell you guys. 419 and I got an 859. What's going on, 419? Good morning.
Hey, what's going on?
Did you set up the GoFundMe? You got the GoFundMe? Is it all set up? You got the donations are rolling in?
Yeah, it's in my Twitter bio. Make sure you donate what you can.
Yeah. It's tough times out here in the streets when you're only worth 10 million. It's tough to make it when your net worth's only 10 million, man. It's hard. See Jay Carr.
That's
yes.
Hilarious.
Jay Carr. Yes. The Lighthouse in Indiana. That's where Adam and his wife like to go, and I like going there as well. It's nice by the lake. We're not used to that kind of thing in these parts. I'm sorry, I got distracted.
Oh, that's fine. I was laid up all week, kind of sick, not feeling well, and I was kind of thinking. I rewatched all your stuff, reruns, and I was kind of closing my eyes, thinking about the upcoming season and what could go wrong. And my biggest takeaway, what do you think it is?
The biggest thing that could go wrong?
The biggest thing that could go wrong this year.
Well, I think the number one biggest thing would be if Riley Leonard's your starter and then he goes down early and all of that gets kicked into we need young and experienced guys now at quarterback. That would probably be the worst case scenario. Although you could argue in the long term, it might actually help Notre Dame to be able to figure out and develop those younger quarterbacks. So it would help inform down the road because you would have to play those guys and then you would know what kind of where they're at, throwing them in the water. But for this year, it would screw things up big time.
Yeah, I think where I'm at is like listening to everybody and hearing everybody's thoughts. I feel like we've got this almost like a false sense of security with the quarterback now. And, when you look at Riley Leonard, come kickoff time, his last good game will have been like 2 years prior. He's coming off being injured, 3 touchdowns and 3 interceptions last year. And then we got a couple guys that haven't done anything. And this is what we're hanging our hat on. And I was just kind of thinking, like, what's the one thing? And, sure enough, with Notre Dame, it's the damn quarterback position.
Yeah.
And I'm just like thinking, what can make or break the year? And, I just think that would be it.
Yeah, man, there is real pressure this year. Do you agree? Like it's year 3, rounding into form, like the change with the playoff.
Well,
it's like real pressure. There was pressure on Freeman the first couple of years, but it was with an understanding from reasonable fans. Some of this needed to be rebuilt and was going to be a frustrating process. Any reasonable Notre Dame fan looking at our roster should have known some of this might be a little rough when we try and build the right talent and figure things out. Now, we got to start seeing some of the fruits of that labor. We're now into year 3. Like, I expect Freeman to tighten up the coaching stuff. No more Marcus 10-man, no more weird timeouts or mismanagement about like that needs to be tightened up. But I just think there's real pressure this year, Mark. You got to get in that playoff and play well in it.
Well, I feel like we all appreciate Freeman's like win now mentality, but like what happens, the first 2-3 games where eyeball tests, like maybe we're winning, but Riley Leonard just doesn't look good. And I think of, what just happened with the Milwaukee Bucks NBA, they had the best record in the NBA, and they knew come playoff time they weren't going to be good enough. They fired the coach. So, I mean, if we're winning, he don't look great. Like,
isn't going to matter. If they're winning
to this guy?
Yeah. If you're winning, especially yes. If you're winning, especially yes. Doesn't matter what it looks like. I mean, if they're winning, they're rolling with it. They're not going to change it if they're not losing.
I guess if they're winning, but if they slip up a game and he's not doing well.
Okay, but again, Mark, now we're in the same situation we were just in, where I'm going, okay, we don't have our big goals are gone. This guy's a one and done, so you can't even argue this is a developmental process and whatever. Then you're in the same situation you were just in, where it's not good enough. We're mad about that. But if you go to something else, it could get even worse, and we're going to be double mad. It just needs to work out because all the alternatives are not great.
Yeah, I mean, this is the easiest schedule Notre Dame's had in decades. I mean, it's a cakewalk.
You are.
I mean, you got.
Well, now, okay. Now, let me ask you this. You led me right into it. The schedule between Texas A&M and hosting Florida State on November 9th, I believe, it is like I'm looking at these games going, I don't know how Notre Dame loses. When you look at that run from A&M to hosting Florida State November 9th, it is Notre Dame's got, I'm genuinely, even like glass half empty John worrying about everything. I don't see, there should not be a loss in there. So that makes me ask you this, Mark. Is A&M a must win for Notre Dame?
Oh, it's got to be. I think outside of that, like maybe Louisville at home. I don't know what Louisville's got next year.
At least it's at home. At least you're not walking into their Super Bowl again.
I mean, you got Louisville at home, Florida State at home.
Yep.
I mean, it's.
And you know what else, Mark? Mark, I think Florida State's got to take a step or two back. Don't you agree? Like, I'm not looking at Florida State like they were early this year when they were rolling with that quarterback. I think there's got to be a regression from Florida State.
Yeah, you would think there'd be kind of a hangover effect, but yeah, I mean, it just break the schedule down. I mean, I don't know how far you'd have to go back to find something more manageable than this. I mean, there's literally a couple of games we have to worry about. So, I mean, if we can't make noise this year, shut the whole thing down.
That's what I mean. Like this year, you got to have it. Like, and you know what else? Freeman knows that. Freeman feels that. All these guys know that too. They know that it's lining up, and you got, a heavily veteran roster balanced out with some youth and talent. It's a really, really healthy, good blend. And you need to have a really big year. Like, you can make Mark, you can make the playoff. You can make the playoff if you lose to Texas A&M. But you're losing all momentum right out of the gate. And it is another feather in the cap of the Notre Dame never wins the big one crowd. Notre Dame could never play an SEC, schedule, whatever. Like, you just lose all momentum. And so, on paper, it's not a must win because Alabama proved you could lose your first game to a marquee brand name thing and then still make it. But it's just the perception and the emotion. The perception will be really bad. And the emotion, it's week one. You let all the air out of the balloon. You have all the hype and the hope in August, and everybody's getting excited. Nobody's lost a game yet, blah, blah, blah. To lose week one, it's just, and you're just, there's no vibe, man. And so if Notre Dame can find a way to get a win, no matter what it looks like there, now you're on a rocket ship because now you have that feather in your cap. And I am not saying that A&M is going to be a top 10 ranked team. They're not, but it would be a huge win for other reasons. And then you hit that easy part of the schedule. You should be undefeated hosting Florida State at your place a couple weeks before Thanksgiving. And that is the position Notre Dame should be in.
Yeah, I hope Freeman doesn't tolerate, if Riley Leonard's got, 3, 4, 5 series in a row where he's not doing anything. I mean, we just came off a year watching Hartman do it. I mean, everything was so hard to watch. And, he'd have 3, 4, 5, Clemson 6 possessions where he couldn't do anything. And, we're just at a loss. I mean, we can't blame the OC anymore. So,
man, we have
take them out first series,
Mark
series. Like, you got to try something.
Through Goolsby, he's friends with coaches. Like, just because he was a football guy at Notre Dame and then at a cup of coffee, in the league or whatever, he's in like a football circle. And all these guys are coaches or recruiting guys or training guys or whatever. He's told me every single person that's like a coach or at that level that he's asked says that Parker offense and the play calling was like like high school coaches put out better plans and pivot better than what that was. Every single person said it was really, really low level stuff. So
yeah,
I think Denbrock's going to really help modernize that and not be an issue. So I'm hoping for it. But this is a big year, man. You got it. This is a big year. I need Notre Dame to get that 5 to have that home game. That's what I need.
Yeah, I already told you I start seeing some sloppiness at the blue and gold game. I'm going to start booing. I'm not tolerating any of this.
I love it. It's like it's the relaxing blue and gold game.
Leonard, if it's in jelly,
bring your family. It's a relaxing blue and gold. Boo! Get off the field. You suck. God, what are you going to do? Bring a brown paper bag, and if it doesn't go good, put it on your head and sit there at the blue and gold game?
Yeah. I'm gonna wear a Buckner jersey.
Oh,
Buckner.
God. Dude, that makes me think this is going to be really, really dark, Mark. And then I'm just going to say this, and I'm going to move on, okay? One of my best friends, how do I say this on YouTube to not get censored? took himself out after the blue and gold game one year, like 5 hours after we got home from the blue and gold game. And I sat there and thought, we didn't play that bad. We didn't play that bad. Like, I know that's
some lousy.
I know that's dark, but like, I literally, when the immediacy of that situation calmed down, I did have a laugh where I go, man, I know we're not great, but it wasn't that bad, buddy. There were other things involved, but that's just an immature thought I had to kind of make myself feel better about it.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to the tailgate. That'll
it's going to be
that's
fun.
always worth it. Sometimes the games can be kind of dull.
Yeah, I know. You know what, though? Think about it. You're going to be excited to see all these quarterbacks. That is already going to make this very interesting because it doesn't matter what string they are. I want to see them. That alone makes me excited. And you got all these early enrollees that I really like as well, and I want to see them. I actually think this is going to be great. I have a lot to look at. Yeah.
Take the red jerseys off. Go live. Best man wins. Day one starter.
Yeah, and I love the best part about the blue and gold game is that I know Notre Dame's not going to lose. I'm not sure, how good we are, but I know Notre Dame's not going to lose on that day, and we're going to have a good party, man. We're going to have a good party, and I just hope the weather holds. Don't be minus 20 degree cheese. Can I just get even 50 degrees? I'm not asking for the world here.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. Well, thanks for taking my call.
No problem, buddy. Hey, if you're into that, enjoy the NFL games on Sunday. See who's in the Super Bowl, man. Enjoy it.
Yeah, you too. Take it easy.
Have a good one. Beef eater for the $10 holla. Thank you. 859 coming up. John, to make the offseason more exciting, after Goolsby linebacker camp, I'm going to start a GoFundMe and buy you a middle seat between a 400-pound OSU fan and Alyssa Milano on a 5-hour flight to the USC spring game. Bro, that's a lot. Why are you trying to put this on me? Every single thing that's a lot. Don't do that to me. I don't need. What did I do to deserve that combo problem platter? Angela, good to see you here. My kids started a countdown to the blue and gold game. Yeah, and then somebody else said, we were talking about Snoop earlier, and they said, you got to make sure you have some Snoop for the tailgate. Dude, I got some Snoop for the tailgate. Are you out of your mind? You don't go to a tailgate without Snoop. Oh, man. I don't even want to think about that. The USC spring game. Imagine how many people go to a USC spring game. Roughly 17 people, all the players' relatives, go to the regular home games. For the spring game, is there literally no one at USC spring game? Crazy boy. I'll bring John a hamburger with cheese, onions, lettuce, tomato, pickle, ketchup too. You could bring it all you want, and then you could eat it. Why couldn't you just stop at hamburger and cheese? Why do you have to add all that other stuff? It is unnecessary, and it is unacceptably gratuitous to add that many unnecessary items on something that is perfectly fine. Just bread, burger, cheese. That's a cheeseburger to me. Once you start adding all this other stuff on it and soggying up my buns, I don't like it. I don't like soggy buns. That's the problem. I've never understood. I don't like soggy bread. Bread's not supposed to be soggy to me. And you just start dumping, I got the ketchup. I got the mustard. I got this whatever green. It looks like boogers. We're going to put that on there. Whatever it is. And then it gets smashed on there. And then my bun's soggy. Who in the hell can eat a burger with a soggy bun? It's mush. I can't handle it. It's too much. Conundrum? That is a big conundrum. At least it's your ex. $5 hour. You guys are funny, man. Immature, but funny. It's right up my alley. Miles leaving LSU for ND as an offensive analyst, which was his role at LSU. John, is that the new ND hiring analyst? I don't know. I don't know what the deal is with that. Yeah, Zach Branch. They do need to use him differently and better. That's for sure. John, out here making excuses for having the palate of a 10-year-old. I really do, man. Listen, I eat to live. A lot of people in this country live to eat. Think about what I'm literally telling you. I eat to live. I don't live to eat. It's an inconvenience to me. Eating is a necessary inconvenience. It either costs money, takes time, or both. Like, there's eating's an inconvenience. There's never been, oh, I can't wait to eat. No, it's like, oh, I'm hungry. I got to eat. You know what I mean? It's just not a big deal to me. You just do it to do it because you got to do it. But I'm not claiming I'm normal. Angela knows I just have very basic food tastes. The basic food groups: meat, bread, pasta, potatoes. I don't know. That's about it. You know what? I'll tell you this. Orange chicken and rice. I will eat that because it's like the most basic Americanized version of whatever that food's supposed to be. It's just rice and a little tangy chicken. Even I could eat. That's about as wild as I'll get, you guys, is orange chicken and rice. That's about as wild as I get. You know, you're not getting me. I ain't eating no fish unless it's like the fried cod, what a fish and chips where it's buttered and battered and all that. And and flaky. But I never, you know what I'll never understand? Crab Rangoon. I don't know what that means. Is that a new hard metal band, Phil? I don't know what that means. Crab Rangoon. That sounds like a threat. I don't know what that is. No. It sounds like you're saying crab and raccoon. No, that's not my favorite. Oh, do you get the tail? No, I don't know. I don't understand some of the seafood stuff, you guys. I'll be in Florida because you're by the water. So there's seafood, fresh seafood allegedly because the ocean's there. And then you got some fish they pull out. Bro, you'll be standing there and it'll literally be like a plank with a fish on it, bro. What the hell? Literally, you know what I'm saying, where it's like a wood plank and there's just a fish there. And his eyeballs looking at you, following you around the room. You're about to eat the thing. His head's there. There's a fish. There's a fish. And it has eyeballs and it's just looking at you. And I'm going to eat that? You're out of your mind. You're out of your mind. I'll eat steak. I ain't getting it no rare and all that stuff you guys get. Man, it doesn't taste any different to me. I'd rather know that steak's done. Medium well. I don't care. Oh, John, you took all the flavor out. I already told you. I don't eat for flavor. I eat to just get filled up till the next time I have to eat. I don't eat for flavor. I eat to just not be hungry. Okay? So yeah, I like a steak, but I ain't getting it light pink. Where it's like, oh, great. Am I getting poisoned? It doesn't even look like it's cooked. I'm not doing that. I ain't doing that. Oh, John, you're burning the juices out of the steak. Bro, I don't care. I just want to not be hungry anymore. Yeah, Andrew, me too. 859, you're on the line. What's going on?
Hi, John. How you doing?
I'm doing very well, my friend. Happy Friday to you. And I'd love to know what's on your Notre Dame mind. I know you were not too impressed with the basketball performances recently, I believe. I know you don't like it. I know you're a little agitated with where the b-ball stuff's at.
depressing, but look at it ties into your whole theory. Do you realize how far our program has slipped? And we're now happy as fans if we just make the playoffs and win one game instead of could we win a title, please? I understand it's tough. You got to win 4 games, but that's where we're at. And that's why they signed this stupid deal where at best we could get the 5th seed. It's not. It's about generating an extra home game and bringing $18 million in the South Bend. It's not about winning titles anymore. And it's disgusting. At the halftime, we're losing by 8 in the basketball game. Let's play the fight song. Or you'll appreciate this story too, John. I almost got us arrested. I went back for a North Carolina game.
Yeah.
Like 9-10 years ago. We're walking off the field. We get blown out by 20 points, and we're playing the fight song all cheering. I go, this is a disgrace. This is embarrassing. We're Notre Dame, and we're happy we got blown off on our own floor. And, I mean, that's what football's coming down to. Oh, it's okay. Let's just make it. Why don't we just shut the damn program down? Because it's embarrassing. Do you think Frank Leahy would put up with that stuff? You got to be kidding me.
Yeah, it's all right. God, I love when you get worked up, man. It makes me feel more normal. I love it. Let me ask you this. Here's the issue. I totally get what you're saying. My dad talks all the time about the generational exposure Notre Dame has right now, meaning what's going to happen when the people my dad's age that are the last ones to be able to remember Notre Dame being elite, what happens when they age out and all the people my age in, and we have no concept of Notre Dame being good to like level as the bar. My dad's like, dude, that's a existential risk for Notre Dame when you have the first full generation in 100 years that has not lived to see us win anything and know what that bar is like, that we're entering that period where that's kind of a dangerous place to be without having that championship lineage tying one generation to the next. That is a danger. But let me ask this of you. You're saying that it's got to be, frankly, national title needs to be the bar for Notre Dame. Do you understand the concept of looking at how far away from that we've been and looking for incremental progress building to that point? Do you see any validity in that, or do you think that's just excuse making to lower the bar?
Probably lowering the bar. I get, you're probably right. I just think the priorities aren't there anymore. They're trying to work with Freeman. I'll get that. But do they live and die? And you got to just look at the makeup of the student body. It's different. They now recruit these kids, even the regular students, which blew my mind. That's just a generation. Because I'm a little bit younger than your dad. So we still have me. We haven't aged us out yet because I saw us win 3 titles. One, I was a little sketchy because I was only 6 years old.
Yeah.
But if we lost, we were in a bad mood.
Yep.
And I'm not saying all, but a lot of today's generation, it doesn't put you, they're different. I'm not using you, but it would ruin your whole week. You weren't happy again until we won.
Yep.
I think that's changing society. Now it's let's just everybody, I don't know if it's your generation or not, start the whole bullshit with the participation trophy.
Yeah.
That's kind of where our society's at.
Yeah.
And
you know where that started,
really,
man?
truly,
right kind of after me. I was an early millennial, right kind of like at the older end of millennial. And then below me, you started getting into all of that. Everybody's good enough. Everybody wins, all of this stuff. And that is a spiral I think is dangerous when you have no standards anymore for anything and everything's just good because it is. Like, that's dangerous to me. I don't live that way.
What's the same reason I point out? And God bless him. But I'm sorry, either you love Notre Dame or you don't. And Tommy Rees, he got up in front of that team and said, we're going to do this together. I'm going to be here for you. And as soon as he got the chance, he went right out the door. So, no, I'm never going to root for that man. I don't respect that man. I would never want to go to a school and have to beat Notre Dame. I applied to one school, and by the grace of God, I got in. I didn't want to go anywhere else. I live and die one place. So I don't want to hear this, I can go to another place. No, you're not a Notre Dame man. No, you're not.
Listen, man.
Plain and simple.
I've always thought about this. People have asked me about coaching or something and my thing is I would only want to coach at Notre Dame. I would have no interest. I would have no motivation to do it anywhere else if it wasn't Notre Dame. I got to have that connection. I just don't know if that's realistic, man. These guys move around. They take the next opportunity. He's young. He could end up coming back to Notre Dame down the road.
Oh, please, I hope not. But hell, the only reason he's even playing there, you realize why we got stuck with him as a quarterback? Because your little liberal Kelly was too lazy to recruit. He was a throw-in recruit.
He's got a long history with Notre Dame, man. Recruit, player, coming back as a coach. I'm telling you, you need to wrap your mind around this. I know for a fact one of his life goals is to be the head coach at Notre Dame in his career. I'm just telling you, I know that for a fact. That is something on his list of things he wants to do in his life is be the head guy at Notre Dame.
Well, if that comes to fruition, I hope I'm 6 feet under.
I'm just.
The only thing worse would be a USC coach.
Yeah.
I have zero respect for the man. I do.
Yeah.
I just don't.
I'm just telling you that's a priority of his. And it's a very interesting move. And I would like to see whether he stays in the NFL ranks. If he was looking to make this move or if it was just like what was available. I don't know those details. It'll be really interesting to see if he stays or goes. And then let's transition to this. When you're looking at next year, man, it's not practically a must win, but week 1 feels like a must win, don't it?
Oh, you have to, because you got to set the tone. And there is a difference. When you get to the 5 seed, at least then you're reseeding it. Then you're playing, it's 4 versus 5. Whereas if you drop down further, let's say you even sneak a win out, you don't want one of the top 3 seeds at their home place. Or I guess the second round, I guess is off-campus sites. But no, we have to minimum go 11-1 next year. Now, I don't think it's the easiest schedule in the last decade. I disagree with that. Your first caller was wrong. Go Kelly's last year. He had one legitimate team on there, and it wasn't even a Power 5 team. You see at home, and we couldn't get that done. The only good thing that came out of that, got rid of Kelly. Because you know as well as I do, Kelly was never going to recruit enough at elite level to get us over the
100% correct. 100% correct. Factual. 100%.
Now, I think Freeman's getting us there. Player development seems to be a little bit better. But, I mean, I figure there's 3 tough games, and you got to put Louisville in there because we didn't beat them last year, and you figure they're going to be even better. I think they've had a good recruiting or the portal, so I wouldn't be counting that as a walkover game. But I'd say there's 4 legit games. The other 8, but they're positioned better. But here's where the AD better earn his stripes and earn his paycheck. I don't care where you got to go find it. Go pay somebody and play week 0 so you get a game under your belt. And if they don't do that, then I'm going to be really annoyed going into A&M because this is all on our AD. Go find them on our opponent, write in the damn check, don't blow the game, and get a game in before A&M. This isn't rocket science.
Yeah, man,
get it done. On your damn salary.
I like that a lot because everybody's looking at that week 1. Could you go and put a week 0 and get knocked the rust off? Like that is interesting because we have the one open date. I am not sure if the date's flexible though. Is the game and the date flexible? Or does whoever we play have to be pushed into like a later part of the schedule? I don't know that part.
I would think as long as you got a willing player, go get BYU or get Hawaii. If you want to play week 0, travel. Not that I want to do another travel, but at least it's in the United States. Go play Hawaii week 0. Go because you're allowed an extra game. That is a rule because if you play off-land, you're allowed 13 games. But you're telling me you can't go on a bottom conference schedule. It doesn't need to be a Power 5 and get somebody that'll take a $3 million check. Come on, I don't buy that. Are you making the calls?
Yeah, that's really, really interesting. And the other thing
and they got a ton of assistants. Although they screwed the pooch when we hired O'Leary. I never did hear anybody getting fired off that debacle. How you didn't vet the coach to see if he lied on his resume? That's a disgrace. And we have the #1 business school in the country. I mean, really?
Yeah,
I mean, what kid doesn't care?
It was a bad look. I will say this: you're not wrong about that. Some of that scheduling. Notre Dame must go undefeated at home for sure this year. Like you got to win all those home games, just 100%, no doubt. Got to have it, must have it. You need to win. There's no excuse to lose any of those home games next year. You can't do it.
Yeah, and the scary thing is though, this is where I can't sleep at night and get depressed. If Freeman doesn't get it done, who's going to? Because he, like you said, he has the spirit of Notre Dame. He loves the place. He wants to win, and he gets it. And I think I'm hoping the above will help him win it. But if he doesn't, then you might as well just throw your hands up and say it's over. We'll be like Army of the 40s.
Here's another thing you got to mention. All of the fast-paced major changes that have happened in college football recently, all of them, big changes with how the whole thing runs and operates, how you build the team, the playoff, all of it. If you did not have a modern thinking guy with the energy Freeman does, I'm afraid Notre Dame would have fallen so far back by now. These changes have been so extreme and so quick. Freeman's a big part of the reason we're even trying to keep up at all, because he's got the energy and he's so modern to want to do all this. And if you didn't have a guy like that navigating Notre Dame through all these changes, I fear you could be left behind forever. Notre Dame fans should appreciate that this guy's trying to at least keep you with the times.
You're 100% right.
So I don't know, man, but this is going to be a long summer. And then you got Texas A&M, man. You got to get that win, blast off the rocket ship.
No.
Come on.
No.
Oh,
New
you mean
team.
Hawaii?
No.
You mean
I don't care who it is. Week 0. The chance should be. We want a week 0. We want a week 0.
Yeah, I like it, man.
Gotta have it. All right, John. Well, thanks for taking the call, and you have a great weekend.
Have a good weekend, buddy. Take it easy. His intensity warms my soul in a way. Like there's something every time he calls. It's the delivery. Oh, man. Chief, you got it backwards, buddy. You got it all backwards. What exactly is he doing differently? The school's giving him more leeway is the more change here. You think those changes were just going to happen for no reason? Because the people who don't care about football were going to change it all? Like, I'm struggling with this. Make this make sense to me. What exactly is he doing differently? The school is giving him more leeway. Is more the change here? Where do you think the leeway is coming from? The school itself, the administrative wing of this, was never going to, on their own, decide to make it easier for Notre Dame football to be good. That's just not how they operate and think. It's not a priority. Something had to initiate that. That's where Freeman comes in. You're saying Marcus Freeman single-handedly is changing the stuffy attitude of Notre Dame elite towards football? I have a hard time believing that. Believe it. You got to tell me the obligation's on you, I think. Why were things all one lame way ever since Lou, all the way through Kelly? And now we're seeing things tangibly change and be different. I mean, he's got help, but Freeman is the initiator of all that. Freeman is the energy of that. Freeman is the guy going to these people saying, here's what I need. Can you work with me? And that's a lot different than the way Kelly used to just bulldoze everybody and expect the world and treat everybody like crap and then ask them for favors. It's a big difference. But the idea that the administrative stuff would change without someone like Freeman pushing it is absurd. Those people don't even... Some of the things Freeman's getting changed, they have no idea like what the modern reality is or any of it. You need somebody to push that change, but to do it in a way that's approachable enough, it doesn't turn all the bean counters off and have them work with you. He's being rewarded for his attitude and presence more than he's changing hearts and minds. That's what I'm saying. I look at those all connected to me. But dude, there's a million just little things with recruiting, the way that operation set up, the timing. You wanted to change all that, getting all the old alumni players back, doing a better job of fundraising and being out there glad ending. Like, there's a lot of this stuff. Him being able to get these people to understand you need more flexibility. I'll give you a great example, Chief. Freeman got the powers that be to understand. This is just one tiny example. Got them to understand. They needed to speed up their eligibility to get into admissions for the grad transfer thing or whatever. It usually took weeks for them to be able to vet a kid to see if he could even come to Notre Dame out of the transfer portal. Notre Dame's not landing anybody like that, or you're landing barely, and that's too big of a window. Freeman went to them and said, I need you guys to speed this time up. We cannot compete with you guys dragging your feet so long. And they got that done. That's a really great example of something where if you don't push it and push it the right way, it's an underlying issue that makes it harder for you to do what you need to do. So I don't know. But his energy and drive is the impetus for a lot of that. Drunk, why are you saying that you think I'm out of it or whatever? I don't know what you're talking about. I have a lot of days where I didn't feel good and didn't have energy. I don't know why you're saying you feel like I don't have energy today. What do I have to have 4 strokes a week for you to think that the show is adequately amped up or what? How many blood pressure monitor readings have to go off for you to be satisfied with the energy level around here? I'm afraid to ask. But is that coming with higher expectations? Is he living and dying with this then? Like, look, we'll give you all this, but you better win. Here's the reality. All of the stuff they're giving them, I'm not acting like it's a magic gift from God. These are basic things that already should have been things. That's the other part. None of this stuff is extra anything. It's all the stuff that should just be how it is when you claim to be a major football operation. That's how I'm going to answer that. The concept of the admin people being like, look, we're giving you all this, but you have to win. These are things that are so basic, they should have already been just how it is. You shouldn't even have to ask. None of this stuff that's changing should even need to be asked for. If you're a modern, real, elite program admin, you should be going to the coach saying, how about we do this for you? How about we give you this? Let's help you out with that. Would this help you make life easier for you? Like, none of this stuff is extras. These are just basics. So I don't know. ND hired an offensive analyst from LSU. I saw that in the chat. Wouldn't that make a hell of a lot of sense? Denbrock would want his guy. That makes perfect sense to me. That Denbrock might want his guy. And so bring somebody over. So I don't know. All right, guys, that's going to be it for the day. Enjoy the football this weekend. I don't know whether we're going to go live tomorrow night or not. I have some things going on. We'll see. But I'm going to have some episodes for you. And yeah, it's, I don't know, fun time of the year. Let's build a bridge. Let's build a bridge to spring ball and enjoy kind of this little in-between where you can kind of step back, take a look at the big picture and kind of measure it all out. So everybody have a good weekend. Maybe I'll go live Saturday or not. I'll let you know, but I'll have an episode or two out for you. I always want to have something for you guys to watch. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you for calling. Thank you for the donations. I really appreciate it, you guys. Thanks to everybody. Take care.